Well, hi guys, it's a special day. It's Sunday. You're expecting I was going to say it's Easter, and it is, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. I brought something kind of neat today. I made this years ago. Some of you have seen this. It's a tomb I made out of some sandstone that came from my dad's barn wall up in the Chautauqua area. But it's got an authentic little rock here, like the tomb was sealed with. And as you roll that stone away and you look inside, you'll notice it is empty. Really specific, really important, because as Christians, we believe that Jesus died on a cross bearing sin, but he was also buried in a tomb. And on the third day, he rose again and he lives forevermore. But as I look at my calendar, it's something kind of interesting. If you look at today, the 31st, you notice it says Easter. What if you flip through a few pages in the calendar, you'll notice in May, you'll see Easter mentioned once again. And obviously the one is in the later would be the Eastern Orthodox Church. So you ask, which one is right? Well, the controversy isn't anything new. It reaches back hundreds of years. And basically it's a matter of which calendar you use, the Julian calendar or the Gregorian calendar. But here's the real deal. I mean, the real issue. The issue isn't whether we celebrate the resurrection of Christ today or 5 weeks from now. That's not the issue. The issue is this: how did the early church celebrate the resurrection of Christ? Let me read you first what the enemies of the early church had to say. And there's a letter written to an emperor by the name of Trajan by a man called Pliny, and he was requesting information. He was a governor, and he was kind of wondering what to do about these followers of Christ. He said this: the sum and substance of their fault or error had been that they were accustomed to meet on a fixed day before dawn and sing responsibly a hymn to Christ as to a God. Well, why before dawn? What fixed day? Well, John chapter 20 gives us some hints here. It said, now the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb early while it was still dark and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. You know the story. She went to Simon Peter and the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and she said this to him: they have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him. It's fascinating, and back to that account there with the letter to the emperor, how the enemies of the church associated the church's meeting together on a fixed day to worship Christ as God, as their fault or their error. In their dark eyes, this was the essence of Christianity: meeting together, worshiping Jesus together on a specific day. Well, what do you think was that specific day in which the early church met? In that letter, it wasn't specific. Well, in AD 150, a man by the name of Justin Martyr wrote this: and on the day called Sunday, all who live in cities or in the country gather together in one place. Let me read to you from Acts chapter 20 out of the Word of God. It says, now on the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul, ready to depart the next day, spoke to them and continued his message until midnight. There were many lamps in the upper room where they were gathered together. So here, once again, we're confronted with the fact that believers are meeting together on Sunday. And in this passage, we see what true believers do. They break bread together. They take the Lord's Supper together. And they listen to a message as they gather together. Well, finally, in an ancient letter about 100 AD, a Christian wrote to other believers, and where he states this. He says, quote, wherefore also we keep the 8th day, that's Sunday, for rejoicing, in which also Jesus rose from the dead. Well, I say all that to say this: the issue is not on which day does Easter happen to land in any particular year. The issue is this. Every Sunday is to be the day in which genuine followers of the risen Christ meet together for worship, remembering, recalling his resurrection. In a sense, every Sunday is to be Easter Sunday. It's the practice of the earliest Christians to observe this resurrection every week on Sunday, a day set aside to worship the risen Christ with song, with the breaking of bread, with the hearing of the message from the Bible, together with other believers. Well, here's just a little Easter thought for you today. And I hope it's some help, some encouragement. Take care, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.